Our next guest joins us on a pair of big stories. Today's House Oversight Committee hearing looking into pharmacy benefits managers and yesterday's contentious hearing involving the Secret Service director and calls for her to resign in the wake of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Joining us right now is the chairman of the Oversight Committee, Kentucky Republican Congressman James Comer. And, sir, thank you for being with us today. Where would you like to start?
You're the boss, wherever you want to go.
Okay, why don't we start with, first of all, the business end of things? Why don't we start with what we just stepped up with, go straight into the issue of the pharmacy benefits managers. There's been so much contention and so much concern with Americans and what happens with prices for their pills, with prices for what happens along the way, things they can't afford. And there's plenty of blame to go around depending on who you ask. What would you like to hear from these pharmacy benefit managers today?
Well, this will be our third hearing over the past year and a half with the pharmacy benefit managers. This hearing is unique. We're having the CEOs of the three largest PBMs in today. They control 80% of the prescription drug market in America. The problem that we have with the PBMs, and we're issuing a report today that summarizes our investigation over the past year and a half, these three companies are vertically integrated. They have a parent health insurance company. We have caught several instances where they have ordered the patient to take a higher priced drug. The PBMs were created as a middleman to help reduce the price of prescription drugs. One of the biggest issues in America is Americans frustrated with the ever-increasing cost of prescription drugs. The PBMs are not doing what they were created to do. They're not saving the patients money. They're actually costing the patients more money. They're price gouging, and in addition, another part of our investigation, they're stealing patients from independent pharmacies. We want competition. As a Republican, as a free market guy, I want competition. I believe the best thing we can do to reduce the cost of healthcare in America is to have more competition. What we see with PBMs is we actually have less competition, and these companies are vertically integrated, driving out the mom and pop businesses and actually increasing the cost of drugs for consumers and for Medicare and for the taxpayer. So these PBMs are going to have a lot of explaining to do. I think that we need to significantly reform the PBM industry in America, and I believe they need to answer a lot of tough questions today.
Congressman, you think the original sin with this was these companies being allowed to be bought by bigger companies, whether that be a pharmacy company or whether that be a health insurance company?
Yeah, what you have now with these three big PBMs that control over 80% of the market is they actually own the medical clinic, they own the pharmacy, and they own the health insurance company. And what they're doing, they've controlled such a big percentage of the market now, they're actually steering doctors towards prescribing more expensive drugs. And instead of buying the drug from your local pharmacist who you have a relationship with, who you can talk to and understand more about the drug you're taking, they're requiring them to go through the PBM's mail order pharmacies. So the PBMs were created to help these pharmacies reduce the cost of drugs. But what's happened is they've become vertically integrated. They're focused solely on profits, which as a Republican I'm all about. But in this situation, the PBMs are doing exactly opposite of what they were created to do. These PBMs need to be busted up, in my opinion,
and they need to be reformed. Like an AT&T style breakup?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have agreement from the other side of the aisle on this?
Yes. And, anytime you can get bipartisan agreement on the House Oversight Committee, it's a pretty good day. We had that yesterday with the Secret Service director. I know you want to talk about that in a minute. But this issue today is one of the few bipartisan issues in Congress. What we've learned, and I give our House Oversight Committee a lot of credit for this, we have, through our investigation and through our messaging, we've educated members in both parties about the perils of the PBMs, about the fact that the PBMs aren't doing what their lobbyists are up here telling the members of Congress to do. And the lobbyists are all saying, oh, we're reducing the cost of prescription drugs for the American consumer. That's not true. What we found is they're actually increasing the cost. There are instances where they've reduced the cost, and they'll highlight those instances. But more than not, they're actually increasing the cost. And we believe they're gouging Medicare. And that should be a big issue for every member of Congress up here, because we're struggling to pay for Medicare.
So do you think the government, through Medicare and Medicaid, should be able to negotiate with the drug companies as well?
I do, and that was one of the things the PBMs were created to do. But they've become profit centers, and they're actually, in my opinion, gouging Medicare in many instances. So, the theory up here that the Bernie Sanders is having, all this, well, let's just have Medicare for all, and let's just put price caps on drugs, and let's let the PBMs handle all that. That's failed miserably. Okay, we need to have significant reform in the prescription drug business. Look, I support the pharmaceutical industry. I believe that you need to be rewarded for research and development. I really believe that. And I believe that you have to have competition. I believe we need reforms in patents so that the big drug companies can't create a drug and have a patent forever and renew that patent and never get generic drugs online. So there are a lot of things we can do to reduce the price of prescription drugs. Patent reform is one of them, but I think PBM reform is something that can be done that will reduce the price of drugs for everyone. And we want more competition, and what we're clearly seeing with PBMs is they're driving out the small retail pharmacies, especially in rural districts like where I represent in Kentucky.
If you think the PBMs need reform, is it something that has to be driven by the government? What's the next step? I assume you don't think that they're going to be able to do this on their own.
No, they're not going to do it on their own. They say they will. They do all these studies, and they have all these fancy lobbyists that come up here and feed a lot of members of Congress that don't really understand the issue, a lot of things that I don't think are actually true. What we need to do is pass legislation. This needs to be a significant effort by Congress to reform the PBMs. They have anti-competitive policies. They have actually increased the cost to the taxpayers and, more importantly, increased the cost to consumers. There's no transparency. In many instances, I've had pharmacists say that they were extorted. And they use the word extortion when they talk about PBMs. They just claw back money from the independent pharmacies. And doctors are furious because they want to prescribe a medicine to a patient, but the PBM then steps in and says, no, that prescription's not good enough. We want this prescription. It costs a lot more. We'll make a lot more money. That's not in the best interest of the patients, and it's sure as heck not in the best interest of the taxpayers.